So I'm Camilla, I'm from Malta Ranger Unit. We have just started our unit Evening Goals actually, so that's part of why we are here today. So we have one question prepared. Usually if there was another candidate it would have been much longer, but let's take one question. So just to give a bit of background to the question quickly, I know we're short on time. There is this goal 30 by 30, which is widely discussed by the rangers of the European Ranger Federation, which MRU is part of, which means that by 2030, all the EU member states should turn 30% of their territories to be protected. Whilst EU as a whole is quite far behind on this goal, Malta has actually managed to reach that. That's what is being said. But what we who are on the ground daily, who walks around in these protected areas, are actually seeing is that there is a big mismatch between what is stated on paper and what is happening in real life. So to give you one example, so Malta claims that they have government rangers and EPU police patrolling Natura 2000 areas. So we know, thanks to actually a PQ by PM, so we thank you for that, how many EPU we have in Malta, how many officers. There are 18 to 19 officers, catering for the whole country. Have in mind that they work in shifts, there will be inspectors, there will be sergeants, so it's not all at the same time. It's a very, very small number of officers dealing with environmental law. So they don't also mention that EPU doesn't work late nights or early mornings. So when the environmental criminals are out and about, and we are out and about as well, there is no one in the police force with knowledge about environmental law to back us up should something happen. We encounter a lot of environmental criminals when EPU is not on duty. And this is seemingly done intentional because we have pointed this out for years and years to the decision makers and they don't want to solve it. And also, GOSO has no EPU. A very important point that we have pointed out so many times. The minister has actually blocked us from his Facebook. He does not want to reschedule his appointment with us, which we have reported to the Ombudsman. So we will keep a post on that. But in this case, where we have a member state bragging that they are protecting 30% of the country, how come EU is not pushing on the fact that all reports that are being sent in has to be scrutinized if this is really the case? What is a protected area? Just on the paper? Or do we actually need to show how many people are and how many hours are put into these areas to be patrolled? Because we as an NGO are dealing with 300 environmental cases per month, and we could deal with thousands if we had the staff. So what would you do in the EU to actually push for this, not only when it comes to funding, but also that the statistics of the member states is correct?
So I think this is a clear example of how a member of the European Parliament can bring up the issue at European level. So one thing you mentioned is the funding. Is the 30 by 30, is there any funding from Europe for that? So if there is any funding, one has to say, look, what is being given by the Maltese government is just greenwash, or call it whatever you want to. But there has to be the political will of the Member of Parliament to bring that up. Now, if you are saying, Kami, that we are just giving in these reports that we are the best in Europe, basically, right? We are the only, as usual, we have all these false things, we are first in everything, especially in syphilis. I see that we are the first country in the EU, and gonorrhea, etc. It is because none of the 6 parliamentarians who we have at the moment have brought, because I think it was a very big issue. If I had been there, probably even Sandra and Peter, please keep in touch. Tell me your problems and I will bring it up. I have no problem exposing the defects of our country, the defects of GOSO in this case, even if you call me a traitor, because that is the trick there, no? You are exposing your country, you're a traitor. So it's important having MEPs who are bringing up facts and reality, because we have to improve ourselves. So if you have to vote, may I suggest that you vote for people who are on these lines and not, for example, for Sara Bella Gaffa, who says we have too many rangers in Gozo, when we have 0. So when we have too many, we have below 0 is too much. But that is also the fruit of a political mind. So the minister blocks you, when the minister should be in constant contact with the people. The transparency issue. Then another member of the same party says, no, these are too many, and there's nobody. At the end, it's that. And you bring it up with parliamentary questions and linking it to funding. I believe a lot of that in that. We have 1,000. Look, stop, just give us 800. We don't get the other 200 if things are not addressed.
Well, like Arnold said, we need to have people who represent us. So, all you need to do is think about those politicians who actually speak when they are here in Malta about the concerns of Malta. If they are able to face the bullies here in this country, then they are ready to face and fight for Malta even on an EU level. But sometimes I hear these people, usually from the Labour side, was like, oh, we'll fight for Malta, we'll fight for Malta. But did you actually fight for Malta when you were in Malta? Did you speak about the takeaway of pavements? Did you speak about the corruption? Did you speak about all this land being taken for building? No. So, if you're not able to stop and fight for your country in your own country, I don't think you will fight for your country on a European level. So, something like you, me and definitely Arnold and even Peter, would take it up and would put it forward for the EU. But if you have people who have this false sense of patriotism to keep the dirty linen inside the country because it reflects badly on their government, because at the end of the day all they think about is the government at home, not to act according to the common good, then you know that nothing is going to be done. And I believe that the 6 people we had, half of them didn't work as much as they should. And now is the time to choose people who actually work for us, for the people.
Very briefly, first of all, big congrats for all your work. I'm one of your avid followers, actually, on Facebook. Secondly, keep in mind that whenever you write to Europe, Europe tends to reply. This is something maybe we are not accustomed to here in Malta. As you say, the minister has blocked you from his page. But do write to Europe. Tell them what you are experiencing. Give them the data. Keep in mind that the Commission has to rely on the member states, has to rely on the departments. But if you give clear indications that there is misrepresentation, they will open their eyes. So the first tool is in your hands. As an MEP, if elected, I would help you with that. I would help you with PQs, I would help you with letters, I would help you in any way I can. But this is always about empowerment. And as you rightly point out, I mean, the government is really keen on trying to, pump up the figures, and then very little is actually done in terms of empowerment to the people who are actually at the forefront of the battle. But keep up the courage. We are with you.
If I may add to that, I think this isn't just a question of local governance. It is also a question of the way the EU works, because we have taken up cases, as Cami was saying, and we have given all the correct data to the EU. However, it's a question of EU procedure. EU takes that issue back to the member state and accepts what the member state replies, as if we are all perfectly wonderful Scandinavian states. We gave them all the data on air pollution. They gave it to government about how the rates of air pollution had exceeded EU standards 35 times in 1 year. Government replied that, those were the days when we had winds blowing from the Sahara. That was Sahara dust in the air. And they stopped there. And we hammered it, but they did not take it on. So this is something that needs to be changed from the inside. I had this mental image because the peaks of the pollution obviously coincided with rush hour in Malta, so it was transparently obvious that it was vehicle emissions and not Gaddafi, God rest his soul, standing on the beach and ordering all his people, okay, it's 4 o'clock, rush hour time in Malta, all blow at the same time. No, that was not the case.
It's true. It's true that it's against the odds. You know, you're playing against the odds, because as I said, the Commission would tend to trust the government.
Yes.
So you first need to break that trust with data, and if I am an MEP, I would be on your side for that.
More questions?
May I just add one thing? No, on that question, please. I agree with you, Astrid. There's a lot of politicking, jockeying. But, for example, the petitions committee in Parliament, sending a petition to Parliament, then depends a lot on who is in that committee pushing. And I see, for example, Ajus Saliba trying to block as much as possible things concerning Malta because his government is there. So that would be one committee I would like being on, because that keeps you on. And then you can push, and you can even come on visits. I've seen it work, you know it too, how it works, but it depends on who is on these committees. The People's Committee, the Petitions Committee, is, I think, the closer to the people and where one can push more.